Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your guy Rudy SKC, and welcome to a brand new video. The Detroit Pistons beat the Brooklyn Nets in Brooklyn 113-98 to win their 5th straight game. That's right, guys. I said the Detroit Pistons have won 5 straight games. That's a statement for the Pistons that hasn't been said in a while. I don't know the exact year it happened, but I know it wasn't in the last 5 years. And to say that this turnaround has been remarkable is an understatement. And this win comes against a Brooklyn Nets team that, let's be honest, are really bad. They're looking to tank. They're looking to get the highest possible draft pick. And they're not looking to stay competitive in these games. So really, the Pistons should have won this game. But I'll tell you what I think separates this win for the Pistons from other wins that they've had in the past. It's that the fact and the fashion that they won this game in. Brooklyn was a bad team. The Pistons knew that. Everyone thought the Pistons should win. The Pistons came in, and from the first whistle, they dominated this game. There was never a question of who was going to win this game at any point. Maybe there were little thoughts when the Nets were coming back towards the end of the first quarter to make it like a 5 or 6 point game, but that's about as close as it ever got. After that, the Pistons just took it and ran. And to me, the sign of a good team, or the sign of a young team becoming a mature team, isn't someone who's able to always be competitive with every team. That's a requirement, but that's not the whole story. To me, it's that and the ability to put away teams that don't belong in the same tier as you. And the Pistons were able to show that they could do that today. Now, the reason that I think this is significant is if we just go a few games back against the Charlotte Hornets, what do we see the Pistons do? The Hornets now, they were without LaMelo Ball. They were basically playing with one of the, let's be honest, the worst rosters in the NBA. The Pistons should have gone through and dominated that game from start to finish. But you know what happened? The Pistons played down to their competition, as young teams often do. It was a close game. It was a defensive slugfest. And yes, the Pistons pulled it out eventually. But for a team that we want to see ascend, we need them to be able to blow out the teams that they should be able to blow out. And the Pistons were able to do that against the Nets. And for you Detroit sports fans, I really want to bring an analogy here. When we were looking at the Detroit Lions in 2022, after they started 1-6, they started to turn it around, right? They go on the road, they beat the Packers, then they go on the road, they beat the Bears, they go on the road again, they beat the Giants, and then on Thanksgiving, they lost a really close game to a Buffalo Bills team. That was again against a really good team that they were really competitive in and almost came out with a victory. Now, the thing that was significant to me is following this game, if we go back and look at all the narratives, the main question was, are the Lions for real? Are they a team that's going to take that momentum and ascend? Or are they going to be a team that just had a lucky 3-game win streak in the middle? And if we look at what happened that week, the Lions went against a terrible Jacksonville Jaguars team and beat them 40-14. Complete blowout, massacre. And that's what good teams are supposed to do. And we're seeing that the Pistons are starting to do that. Now, am I saying that, for the Pistons, they're going to go out, they're going to almost make the playoffs, and then next year they're going to be one of the best teams, go all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals? No. Basketball and football are different sports. But this is one. This is really one for me. We obviously have to see more games like this against bad teams and see what the Pistons do. But I think for me, this is a start of saying that, hey, the Pistons, they're not even in the same league as you. And they're maturing as a young team. So, great job to the Pistons. Shout out to them. This is what we need to see as a franchise in order for us to move forward. And to me, this game was special for another reason, and that was the fact that Cade Cunningham didn't need to be the all-star Cade Cunningham. He played well. He only took 10 shots. He had 13 points. He was facilitating the game. When he was in the game, the offense was running smooth. There was effort on the defensive side of the ball. But he didn't need to be Superman. And that's because of the offseason signings of guys like Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway Jr. Malik Beasley had a great game today again, 22 points. These veteran guys are able to come in, and even when you don't have a guy like Jaden Ivey, who is your second leading scorer, when you have consistent support from the veterans on the team, that team is good enough to be a substandard team. And this is, for a lot of you outsider fans who are wondering, isn't that just the standard? For the Pistons, it has not been for the last 3 to 4 years. This has been a team that's had a ton of young talent, and then old veteran players who can kind of play, but also kind of can't, and they can't perform in situations, you're seeing what the Pistons are able to do with real veteran players. So to me, this was absolutely huge on that aspect as well. And you can see this, right? Every time Brooklyn came and they cut it to 10, what did the Pistons do? Yeah, they don't really, in my opinion, and this is something I want to get to later, they don't really have another playmaker outside of Cade, if we're being honest, and another secondary playmaker. Since Ivy has gone down, I still don't think we've yet to see anyone kind of really step into that role. Yeah, Star Thompson at times, but again, he's also been out with illness. Hopefully it's nothing for him. But really, they've only been operating with one primary playmaker to me. And every time Brooklyn cut it down to 10, the thing that the Pistons were able to come back on was getting turnovers, getting in transition, and getting buckets. And to me, this is what they're building their identity on. It's on the defensive side of the ball. Huge credit to JB Bickerstaff here. It was actually interesting tonight compared to other nights. The mic next to JB, the mic that Blaha and George Kelser were announcing on, it actually picked up a lot of what JB Bickerstaff was saying. And you could see every time something happened, he was constantly in the ref's grill. He called the refs soft at some point. This is not something that we had with Monty last year. It's not something that we had with Dwayne Casey for a lot of his tenure here. And I really think that that energy is feeding into the team, and you can see that they're competing at a high level on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, sometimes they are fouling a lot, and that's because they get over-aggressive and over-handsy, but it's not like in previous years where they're being undisciplined. No, they're playing a disciplined brand of defensive basketball. They're going to be in your grill, they're going to be in your face, and they're going to take chances. And if those chances don't pay off, okay, it's a foul. But if they do, the value that they get in transition, with the youth of this team, the athleticism on this team, the veterans on this team, the shooting on this team, the ability for this team to get out and transition, in my opinion, is how they are building their identity. And to me, it's a beautiful thing to watch. Basketball cannot be more fun. When you have a team that's as fun as the Pistons are on transition, and then you have your superstars with Cade Cunningham and eventually Jaden Ivey as he ascends into that star status, your team is not only fun to watch, but you're also elevating them to be one of the best teams. And when you have one of the best teams in the NBA, that's also fun to watch. That's a great NBA product. The San Antonio Spurs in the early 2000s, absolutely fantastic team. But a lot of their things, dumping the ball down to Tim Duncan, dumping the ball down to David Robinson, have them go to work. But then you saw in the early 2010s, when it was clear that there was a little bit of decline in Tim Duncan, that he couldn't just take the load completely on himself, the offense completely changed. It switched completely to a ball movement game. You saw the creativeness of Manu Ginobili on full display. Tony Parker taking command of the offense. And that Spurs team wasn't only good, they were also fun to watch. And for me, as a Pistons fan, this is perfect because I'm able to see this with my team. Now, I will have fun watching my team if they're the worst team in the NBA or the best team in the NBA. But for the general viewership product and for the general Pistons fans and for outside NBA fans who don't have access to watching Pistons games, this is the type and the brand of basketball that can resonate with them, especially at a time when a lot of people are essentially classifying the NBA as dead. So to me, it's absolutely great for the brand of basketball. And I just want to shout out JB Bickerstaff for the change that he's brought into this team. So huge kudos to him. Fontecchio had his best game of the season. He had 17 points. He was absolutely flame-throwing from three. This is exactly what we want to see from Fontecchio. A lot of the criticism that we had for him early in the season was, dude, stop dribbling the ball. Stop taking the ball to the basket. If you're open, shoot it. If not, move it along. And he was able to do that. Now, I think that there is some upside with Fontecchio in terms of his rim finishing. And we're able to see that towards stretches at the end of last year. But I don't think that he's been able to find that within the groove of the offense this year. And a lot of times it's hurt the team. But as of recently, he's stuck to just, hey, straight, I'm getting the ball, I'm shooting it. And it's worked. He's played significantly better over the last month than he has prior. So shout out to Fontecchio. That's something we need to see going forward from him. Duren had, great stretches in the first half and even in the second half on defense. Absolutely great. And, I don't care if the stats don't show it. You could see the effort off of the pick and roll. You could see the effort on the help that he provided when someone blew past their defender on the perimeter. And you could see, even when he goes to help, he does not put himself out of position. And this is something we were seeing from him earlier in the year, playing great defense on Claxton. So shout out to Duren with that. Now, this for me is important. For Duren to be the starting center of this team for the future, he not only needs to become an elite shot blocker, but I also think on offense, he's already an elite finisher at the rim, right? If you look at the percentages, he's top 5 in the league in terms of finishing percentage at the rim. But he also needs to develop some kind of mid-range game. We saw it with Claxton tonight. He was stepping out and shooting 17-footers. If he's able to add something like that to his arsenal, to me, that makes the offense even more potent in the pick and roll. So that's something going forward. We're seeing the turnaround for Jalen Duren over the last few games, and we hope that it continues, right? We hope that the effort continues. We hope that the effort on the offensive glass is continuing. But to me, he needs to be able to add that some kind of mid-range or some kind of push shot into his arsenal. He shows so much potential. You can see Duren off the drive, he has so much potential there. There's so much untapped athletic potential. And to me, it's really a mystery. But for me, at bare minimum, those are a couple things that need to happen so that the offense can unleash its full potential. Because this is what happens when you have Cade going to the rim, everyone else, the teams collapse on him. But now if you have Duren, who has the ability to shoot the midi, you get one defender that has to stay back. They have to stay back, and that gives Cade or Jaden Ivey more room to operate at the rim, and that gets them higher percentage shots. If you look at a lot of Cade shots, people are saying his efficiency is down. A lot of it is because he's getting blocked at the rim so much, because there's so much help defense collapsing on him. If you're able to have a big that can step out, I'm not saying to the three-point line, just the mid-range line, and who can shoot that 15-footer, who can shoot that 17-foot jump shot, who can shoot at the elbow, that's going to be huge for this team. Okay, so for Duren going forward, for me, that is the bare minimum in terms of his potential for him to be the starting center of the future for this team. And I truly believe he can do it. I do. He has good shooting form if you look at his free throws. So that's an off-season thing. But for right now, great job by Duren on the defensive end of the ball. The final topic of today's video that I want to discuss is Marcus Sasser. So Marcus Sasser had a great game today. I believe he had 16 points. He was, 5 of 6 on 3-point shots. Absolute dead shot from 3. He's great at finding and hunting open shots from beyond the perimeter. But for me, this is what I want to know. I think Sasser has an extreme amount of potential, but I don't know if he can be the backup point guard on this team going forward. Because not only as the point guard, not only is he already elite at hunting his own shot, finding his own shot, but I think that he's showing flashes of playmaking, right? He's showing flashes of playmaking. Ever so often, every time he slips a screen, he's able to find the open man. This isn't something that Marcus Sasser, he's limited at. It's something that, he needs to do more and explore more in his game. So for me to feel confident with Marcus Sasser being the primary playmaker coming off the bench in the future, that's something in his game that he needs to improve. Because other than that, I really do think that he can be a solid 6-man. And you have Malik Beasley already, I get that, right? But now if you have Cade and Jaden Ivey, and to give one of them a break, you have Marcus Sasser running the show in spurts. And to me, I think that if he's able to take that step forward in terms of his playmaking, like he's been showing recently, right? It's not always leading to assists, it's leading to skip passes. If he can take that next step forward, for him and Duren, that's how I think that they can solidify their places on the Pistons for the future. Because like we said, right? I think I saw this on some other podcast. What the Pistons are doing right now is a proof of concept. It's a proof of concept. They're showing that if you put shooters and spacing around Cade Cunningham can be a superstar. Cade Cunningham can lead a team. Now, will those be the same shooters that remain on the team, next year, the year after? I don't know, right? I don't know. We'll see. That's up to Trajan Langdon. I would sure hope you would want to keep Malik Beasley after the year he's been having. But we'll see. That's completely up to Trajan Langdon. But if you're able to have guys like Marcus Sasser and Jalen Duren, young guys who are finding their place on the team, you can see that right now there is a clear path to how they fit onto the team. Something that, I can't necessarily say for Asar or Ron Holland yet, right? We know that both of them are an integral part to the Pistons' future, but we can't kind of define what that role would be, 3, 4, 5 years from now. But I think we can for Sasser and Jalen Duren, and that's what this stretch of games has been showing off. And to me, this win today, it's not just about, great, you beat a bad team, right? It's about the fact that this has come on the back of 4 consecutive wins previously. The fact that you have a back-to-back tomorrow, you're able to get to rest your starters in the 4th quarter. Detroit, fans of the Pistons, you guys are witnessing the rise of the young Pistons team that we've been looking forward to for pretty much the year where we drafted Killian Hayes. Crazy to think that was a draft class. We got Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart, and Saddiq Bey. Going back, we all thought Killian and Saddiq were going to be a huge part of the team, right? And now the team is completely different, but now it's working because you have your guys. You have your two main ball handlers. You have your two insanely athletic wings. You have an insanely athletic center who has a clear place, who has a clear potential to be able to find his place as the starting five of this team in the future. You have the tone setter in Isaiah Stewart. So, for me, with the Pistons, going forward, they don't have to win every game. This is not sustainable. For them to be able to win every single game is not sustainable. But the momentum that they have now, if we're able to continue to see this proof of concept, I don't think the Pistons are just going to be, a young team that can make some noise in the playoffs. I think that they can be a matured team that should make noise in the playoffs. I'm not saying they need to go out and win a playoff series, but I'm saying that we should expect them, if they continue to play like this, to go and push a series to 6-7 games. Because that's the talent level of this team right now. And I really think that with all Trajan's acquisitions, with JB Bickerstaff's coaching, it's all starting to show off. So there you guys go. That's today's recap of this game, but also an outlook on the future. And you know what? We'll be back again tomorrow. We have a huge game against the Golden State Warriors at home, and we'll see how that goes. But before then, I guess I'll have to catch you guys next time. Peace.